The Xbox first party handheld, as we know, is on the back burner at this point. But what happened to it? We talked about the rumor yesterday, and looks like we have an update to the story, as usually happens here, as Jez weighs in on what is going on here with the Xbox handheld and why Xbox right now isn't going forward with their own version of it. Final Fantasy VII Part 3, as well as Final Fantasy Remake, they're coming to Xbox. And the Xbox Series S is in play here. Is it difficult for these games to get on the platform? It looks like from Square Enix perspective, it is not. We have some information about a game that was canceled by Xbox. It could have been a Uncharted competitor. I'm happy they canceled it, but we will take a look at this. And then we have a couple of other things here with some announcements for DLC for a game out of nowhere and Battlefield 6 stuff. So before we do get into it, hit the subscribe, share, like all that stuff. Let's get into the news. So yesterday we talked about the rumors about Xbox hardware, and my take that there's people out there that just want to see Xbox die. They wanted to see it go away. So anytime we get any slight rumor that the hardware isn't happening, people are celebrating in the streets and cheering on that Xbox hardware could be no more. Now, we do know that they signed that deal with AMD. Xbox already came out instantly and debunked the rumors that they are still making their own first party console going into the next generation. And that's where it stands. That's what it is. There is going to be future Xbox hardware today. And then who knows what's going to happen in the future, but I do believe we will be seeing those consoles in our homes in the next couple of years. But there's the handhelds. We're getting the ROG Xbox Ally and a Ally X, which are Xbox handhelds. And I think we're going to get different variants of this. It's just my prediction that we will have other manufacturers coming in wanting to utilize the Xbox full screen experience and give that in their handhelds and sell those to people, similar to what we have seen with SteamOS with Lenovo and the Lenovo Legion Go S, where they had the Windows 11 version and they had the SteamOS version. The SteamOS version with same specs ran games better just because the operating system being optimized. And I'm thinking they're looking at that as well with the Xbox full screen experience, that games should have optimization and run better because of that. So I think that will be spread out to manufacturers and we will see more Xbox handhelds from different manufacturers. But will Xbox makes their own first party one? That is the question. As of right now, we've been hearing that it is on the back burner at this point. And people are asking why. I don't really think it matters because, again, we have all of these different handhelds. It's just basically the plastic, but there was the report yesterday that it was because AMD required 10 million units to be bought of their system on a chip. And if you look at the business side of that, Steam Deck, which I would say is the top right now for the PC handhelds, only sold about 5 to 6 million. So if you're expecting to sell more than that, you're probably not making the best business decision at this point. The other side of the coin could be is that Xbox may look at these handhelds as legitimately a companion device, expecting that most people who have a console or who are in the ecosystem, which is a very large number, would want to go out and buy that. But 10 million would still be a very hard thing here, I think, for Xbox to want to sign on to have to buy 10 million instantly, knowing that they could end up losing money. That was the rumor, and apparently it's not true. This is Jez weighing in here, debunking all of these rumors this week, but he says this in response to this article, that this isn't even slightly true, by the way. And a lot of people had their doubts. You go down here into the comments, and again, this is coming from Kepler L2, who is known to get some things right here with the AMD and the PC space and this type of stuff. But the rumors are coming out fast and furiously right now, and a lot of them seem like they're just being made up. And I'm not sure why. Maybe there's bad sources. It would be odd if people are just coming out and making things up out of nowhere, and then all these articles are getting written. But I mean, they're probably getting bad information, bad sources. The one thing this is just a conspiracy theory at this point, but there's been a lot of layoffs. There could be a lot of disgruntled employees here trying to feed bad rumors to insiders, and these rumors are being published. But we won't know the truth about this. I don't think we'll ever know why they put it on the back burner until maybe years down the road, if they ever do end up talking about it. Or maybe they're still sitting there thinking, yeah, we can go out there after the ROG Xbox Ally, see how that thing does sell, and create their own first party Xbox handheld device. All of that to me at the end of the day does not matter very much. What matters to me is the operating system, which would be the full screen experience, and then eventually being able to get your entire console library on these handhelds as well, any means possible, even if that is through emulation or something along those lines, something that we've seen Xbox implement into their consoles with things like the Xbox 360 and the OG Xbox. That's what's important. It's the software side of these handhelds, because you could have any of these big companies make them. They're all going to have the same thing under the hood. The biggest difference is going to be the plastic shell and the brand on the plastic shell. But there is the handheld rumor. We'll move past that now. The Xbox Series S is always blamed for everything. That's what we've been seeing this generation. It's pretty funny. I have said this multiple times and I stand by it. The Series S has been fine. 99.9% of games run on it, and you get access to everything here this gen. And even the games that didn't initially launch eventually did launch on there, just took more optimization. And we've seen the Xbox Series S as well help with basically optimization with where the future is going, which is these PC handhelds, because you're getting that lower spec power device, and they could take those versions of the games and easily transfer them over to the PC handhelds. Well, one company here, one publisher, Square Enix, is talking about the multi-platform approach now, because Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming over to Xbox. There is less memory on the Xbox Series S, and they've weighed in as to why it's not a problem to them. They are optimizing the games with specific teams looking at everywhere this game is landing, and they don't seem to have an issue here with the Xbox Series S. Naoki Hamaguchi here saying that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 won't be impacted by the Xbox Series S memory issue, saying, "We do have designated teams working on each platform so that our multi-platform approach won't impact the development whatsoever." So this tells us a couple of things. They're preparing for the Series S, even with the Part 3 of this series. The other one, the first part, which is coming out on Xbox, I believe in January, it should run good on the Xbox Series S. And then it kind of, I think, clears up a little bit here. I mean, it doesn't explicitly say anything about exclusivity deal, but I believe Part 3, based off of what we are hearing with the whole Square Enix multi-platform approach, is going to be releasing on every console when it does come out. Maybe that Sony exclusivity deal only stopped at Part 1 and Part 2, and then they were maybe reevaluating the deal before Part 3 was going to come out. And we know Square Enix walked away from exclusivity. They've said that in all their financial reports, and they've come out multiple times of that. So maybe Part 3 launches day one here on the Xbox platform, the Xbox consoles, and probably the Nintendo Switch too. We have an interesting report here about a canceled game which was supposed to rival Uncharted. Xbox was apparently making an Uncharted rival game. It would have been done by the Coalition, but instead they decided to just go move on to Gears of War 4, which I'm okay with. I'm actually happy with this overall decision. But we have this in Did You Know Gaming. They go into the title's history, into the studio's history, and all of that stuff. And they have a comment here on exactly what was going on with this game, why did it get canceled. They say, "It was definitely meant to be a real game. It was described to be as Microsoft's version of Uncharted, but the game was never on sure footing. I've worked on a lot of games, and after a while, you can tell straight away when a project is going to be canned. I knew as soon as I started working on it that if it was ever going to ship, it would have taken at least 5 more years. The guys in charge of it didn't really have a vision for the experience the game was, and they were just stumbling around hoping they could come up with something that felt right." So yeah, that's why they went away here with Black Tusk, which was the name of the project to take on Uncharted. And I'm okay with that because the Coalition, I think they've done a good job with Gears, and I think they are one of the most polished devs here in creating real, very good performing and looking AAA experiences. I mean, you take a look at Gears 5 and that game still looks absolutely phenomenal. Load that game up today. You'll be blown away about how good that one looks. Gears of War 4 also still looks very, very good. And Uncharted to me is a good series. A lot of people love it. It is extremely popular. I'm not a big fan of the gameplay, but I guess maybe Coalition could have improved on some parts of Uncharted and had a hit here. But I mean, if they weren't going to have this game out for another 5 years, it kind of reminds me as to what is happening right now, where we have games that have such long development life cycles. It seems like years ago they wouldn't have allowed games to get to that point, which has kind of led us to where we're seeing the closures of studios, the cancellations and the layoffs because of the long dev cycles, and then it being much harder to make that money back. And it sounds like they nipped this one in the bud before it even got to that point. All right, a couple of more things here. Battlefield 6 is just around the corner. People are very excited for this. I've actually been playing the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 beta over the last few days. I like it. It's a lot of fun. I like how they have the open playlist without the skill-based matchmaking. If they keep that, I think the game will do very good, as you're seeing a lot of people hype that up. But the file size here for the upcoming Battlefield 6 is vastly different depending on if you're playing on the Series X or the Series S, which not surprising because the Series X is going to have higher resolution assets and all that stuff. So obviously will be a bigger file size, but it's pretty big here. It's a 30 gigabyte difference between the two, depending on where you play. So the Series S will be 40 gigabytes and the Series X will be 70 gigabytes. And you can see just kind of all of the stuff you have to download for it. And you may be asking yourself, well, why in the world would you ever want to play it on the Series S? And it's because, I mean, at this point, the arguments is kind of dead. I'll be honest, simply because the fact when the Series S dropped, it was cheap. And I thought getting first person shooters that you could play 120 FPS on a console of that price, you get a 1440p monitor or something, you plug that in, you're playing Call of Duty up to 120 FPS, you would be playing Battlefield 6 up to 120 FPS, Halo. I thought it was just a great way to push that console and a great purchase. But now with the rise of prices of the Xbox consoles, I mean, these deals don't really make sense anymore. It seems like they don't really even want to sell them with those prices. But the reason all that rambling was for is because Battlefield 6 also has 120 FPS modes. So whether you're on the X or the S, you're getting up to 120 FPS. And then obviously resolutions will be different and all that stuff, but that's great to see here. I think those are features that are needed in first person shooters, especially with the whole multiplayer perspective of it and with the advancement in monitors and stuff. If you have a good monitor, it does make a very big difference here. So yeah, you'll be playing Battlefield 6 up to 120 FPS on the consoles. This game is set to release here in 3 days. And we'll see how big it does because we saw the beta. We saw how many people did jump in. People are already comparing the beta numbers of Battlefield versus Call of Duty and saying that Call of Duty is going to get destroyed. I don't know if I'm buying that, but we will see when this game does drop and then when Call of Duty Black Ops 7 drops. And finally, Assassin's Creed Mirage officially is getting DLC kind of out of nowhere years after this game was released. And I'm pretty excited about it. So this is coming out on November 18th. And Ubisoft officially revealed this as Valley of Memory, Assassin's Creed Mirage Valley of Memory. And it is set in ancient Saudi Arabian city of Alula, and is said to contain around 6 hours of content. I'll be jumping in. I like this game. This was the first one they brought back to like the original style of Assassin's Creed to give you that break between the big open world RPGs, and I think is a beautiful game. It plays well, and I'm excited to try out this DLC when it does end up dropping. But that's it for me. I'll end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.